Developed and published by Ember Lab, Kena Bridge of Spirits is a brand new action-adventure game recently released on PS4, PS5 and PC. Initially announced at 2020's PS5 Reveal Event, it showed off an interesting art style, great visuals and cute little companions called the Rot. For the first foray into gaming, Ember Lab have created quite an experience with Kena Bridge of Spirits. Players assume the role of Kena, a young spirit guide who assists lingering spirits with crossing over into the spiritual world. Unfortunately, when someone has died, they may linger due to circumstances that may leave them with unresolved issues. This is where Kena comes in, as she learns more about them and helps them to move on. The game starts off with Kena arriving in an abandoned village as she searches for the sacred mountain shrine. However, during her travels she encounters a spirit who reveals that he is the reason for the corruption across the land. She offers to help him, but he refuses and leaves. During her travels, Kena also meets and offers help to other spirits who have not been able to cross over, all while fighting the evil forces that plague the village and its surrounding areas. The story in Kena Bridge of Spirits is enjoyable enough to be the reason for your journey, but it feels somewhat predictable. Strangely enough, the characters make the journey worthwhile. The performances are so good that it makes it a little hard to not get sucked into each respective arc of helping them cross over. Helping the spirits resolve their unfinished business is possibly the most interesting part of the narrative, simply because the characters are given primary focus even when it leaves Kena herself feeling a little underdeveloped. There are hints about her and her past, however this isn't really explored. It's unfortunate though, because I wanted to learn more about her. The world that you'll explore is divided into a number of larger areas, with the abandoned village acting as your hub. It's mostly a linear affair as you find important artifacts and cleanse any corruption you encounter, but exploring off the main path can be rewarding thanks to a host of hidden rot and secrets. When it comes to the gameplay, Kena Bridge of Spirits plays like a mixture of Jak and Daxter and God of War. The platforming feels very much like the former, with Kena having access to a double jump for some of the larger gaps. Additionally, the platforming includes some light climbing segments. The combat feels similar to God of War, but just isn't as brutal in its execution. Kena can attack enemies with her staff using both light and heavy attacks, and is able to parry or dodge roll out of harm's way if an enemy gets too close. Honestly, it's quite satisfying, and later upgrades such as the bow make both platforming and combat even more interesting. The combat isn't incredibly challenging, however it isn't going to hold your hand either. The game encourages you to play with a tactical mindset as you do your best to take out some of the larger enemies while keeping a handle on some of the smaller but equally dangerous ones. It makes this quite clear pretty early on and continues to do so as you progress through the game, introducing you to new enemy types every now and then. This keeps the gameplay interesting and also pretty challenging. Another aspect of the gameplay which I enjoyed was the presence of the Rot. Kena encounters one of these adorable companions at the very start of the game, and many more can be collected during the adventure. They aren't there to just look cute and follow Kena around though, and actually play quite an important role. The Rot can move objects to help Kena reach new heights, help solve puzzles, and also take certain shapes. They even help you in combat by distracting enemies or powering up Kena's attacks, allowing her to deal even more damage. Before they can be called for assistance, players will need to build up a meter to gain one charge of courage, which is then expended when making use of the Rot during a fight. The same goes for replenishing Kena's health, meaning that you'll have to manage your courage by deciding what is the best use for one of your charges. It further leans into the tactical approach that you'll need to take when fighting enemies. Thankfully, you gain more courage charges as you collect more Rot, so collecting them feels worthwhile and not just like busy work. Completing tasks such as putting fallen statues upright or finding fruit for the Rot to eat grants karma, which can then be used to unlock upgrades for both Kena and the Rot. It isn't a particularly large skill tree, but the upgrades are pretty cool, adding to Kena's repertoire of maneuvers that she can use in a fight. Additionally, there are meditation spots dotted around the map, which increases her maximum health. The puzzles in Kena Bridge of Spirits are also pretty good. They're not the most challenging puzzles, but they employ some clever mechanics and combine with the platforming for some satisfying results. Visually, the game looks incredible. Kena and the supporting characters, including the Rot, have been beautifully rendered. The world is also incredibly colorful and is a pleasure to explore. Even the enemy designs are fantastic, and it's pretty awesome to see them in action during a fight. It honestly actually just feels like you're playing through a Pixar film. The cutscenes are also great to watch, however they do seem to be produced at a lower frame rate than the gameplay. It's not a major issue, but it is quite noticeable. Other than that, it runs really well on the PS5 and the load times are pretty fast. The audio is pretty much on par with the game's visuals. I quite enjoyed the voice acting of Kana and the various characters she meets, plus the little chirps of the dot never got old. The soundtrack is quite memorable too. It's generally quite pensive in nature most of the time, but the boss fights have some amazing tracks, and this rings true for scenes where the corruption is being shown as well. Kana Bridge of Spirits is fantastic. While it has a somewhat predictable story and Kana is a little underdeveloped, I love the characters and the unfinished business that you have to help them with. This, combined with a solid gameplay when it comes to platforming, puzzle solving and combat, makes for such a memorable experience. It also looks and sounds superb and truly feels like an interactive animated film. The inconsistency of the frame rate between the gameplay and cutscenes is a little noticeable though. Despite this, it's a thoroughly enjoyable adventure that mixes old and new school design to great effect, and Ember Lab should be commended for their first attempt at making a game. If you enjoyed this review, please hit that like button, and if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. And if you got your hands on Kana Bridge of Spirits, please let me know what you thought of the game in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.